It started with a coffee spill. Of all things, a $3 latte would change the entire course of my life. I was rushing to my computer science class, late as usual, when I turned a corner and collided with a warm wall of someone. The impact was sudden and jolting. Hot coffee exploded from my cup, a dark wave that drenched my white shirt and the stranger's gray hoodie. A sharp gasp escaped my lips. "I'm so sorry," we said in perfect, awkward unison. And then I looked up. I saw him properly for the first time. He had kind brown eyes, the kind that crinkled at the corners, and a shock of dark hair that fell across his forehead. He was smiling, a little lopsided, and he didn't seem angry at all about the coffee now seeping into his clothes. "My fault," he said, his voice warm. I wasn't looking where I was going. He was holding a programming textbook. Advanced Algorithms. It was the same heavy, intimidating book I was carrying under my own arm. "CS402, he asked, nodding at my book while he wiped coffee from his sleeve with a free hand. Yeah, I laughed, a nervous, relieved sound. Guess we're both going to be the smelly kids in class today. That was our beginning, simple, sweet, deceptively full of possibility. His name was Mark, at least that's what he told me. That was 5 years ago. 5 years before I'd learn his real name. 5 years before I'd understand that some people aren't just late for class, they're late to reveal their entire true selves. We walked to class together that day, smelling of bitter coffee and making small talk about our terrible professor. He was brilliant, I quickly learned. Charming in a way that felt effortless, not practiced. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. When the lecture ended, he waited for me at the door. "Study partners?" he asked, and it felt less like a question and more like an invitation to a future I desperately wanted. So Mark became my study partner, then my friend, then, slowly and wonderfully, something more. Our relationship was a whirlwind of library sessions, shared pizzas, and late-night conversations about everything and nothing. He was my biggest cheerleader. When I told him about my dream, a half-formed idea I'd been nurturing in secret, he didn't just listen. He leaned in. "Tell me everything," he'd said, his eyes locked on mine. I told him about my mom, who ran a small flower shop. I told him how she struggled to compete with the big online retailers, how her beautiful personal business was being drowned out by algorithms she didn't understand. "I want to build a platform for her," I explained, my voice barely a whisper. "For all the small business owners like her. Something simple, beautiful, and powerful that lets them own their space online without needing a degree in computer science." His eyes lit up with a fire I'd never seen before. "Elena, that's incredible," he said, his voice full of genuine awe. "That's not just an app. That's a movement. Let's build it together." And so we did. We called it Bloom, because that's what we were doing, what we wanted to help others do, bloom. Late nights in the computer lab turned into early mornings in my cramped apartment. The air was always thick with the smell of coffee and the frantic energy of creation. Code flashed across our screens. Whiteboards filled with diagrams and dreams. Mark handled the complex back-end architecture, the invisible bones of our project. I designed the front end, the beautiful, intuitive interface that users would touch and feel. We were a perfect team. Our skills complemented each other. Our passion fueled each other. Or so I thought. The first red flag was so small I almost missed it. It was a flicker, a shadow that passed too quickly to name. Mark never introduced me to his family. He said they lived overseas. Switzerland, he mentioned once. He never had pictures on his phone. Never talked about childhood friends or told funny stories from high school. His past was a closed book. When I gently pressed him about it one night, his usual warmth vanished. A shudder came down over his eyes. "My past isn't a happy place, Elena," he said, his voice flat. "I'd rather focus on our future. On us. On Bloom." And I believed him. Because when you love someone, you want to believe them. You manufacture excuses for the gaps in their story. You tell yourself their silence is mystery, their evasiveness are scars you should respect. 2 years after we met, Bloom got our first big break. A prestigious university tech competition with a $50,000 grand prize. It was our chance. We worked for 3 months straight. We barely slept. We survived on caffeine and pure adrenaline. The night before the final presentation, we were putting the finishing touches on our demo. Mark reached across the table and held my hands. His were warm and steady. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he said, his gaze intense and sincere, "I want you to know I'm so proud of what we've built, what you've built." I should have heard the subtle goodbye in his words, the finality, but my heart, full of love and hope and ambition, only heard love. The next day we won. The moment they called our names is etched in my memory forever. The roar of the crowd, the blinding flash of cameras. Mark squeezing my hand so tight I thought my bones might break. We did it. The $50,000 meant we could really launch. We could hire a small team, get a real office space, and stop working from my couch. It felt like the beginning of everything. But for Mark, it was the beginning of the end. The morning after we won, I woke up with a smile already on my face. Sunlight streamed into my bedroom. I reached across the bed for him. My hand found only cold, empty sheets. "Mark," I called out, my voice still thick with sleep. Silence. I got up, heading out into the living room, expecting to find him making coffee, already buzzing with plans for our new future. The apartment was empty. A strange, heavy quiet filled the space. It was then that I saw it. A single, stark white envelope sitting on the kitchen counter. My name was written on it in his familiar, looping handwriting. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I tore it open. Inside wasn't a letter. It was a single, blank sheet of paper wrapped around a key. A key to a safety deposit box. My hands began to shake. This wasn't right. This felt like a scene from a movie, not my life. I tried calling his phone. It went straight to voicemail. The familiar sound of his voice on the recording sent a chill down my spine. I grabbed my laptop, my fingers fumbling as I typed in the password to our company's cloud server. An error message flashed on the screen. "Invalid credentials." I typed it again, more carefully this time. "Same error?" My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. This wasn't a mistake. This was a targeted strike. I drove to the bank, the key burning a hole in my palm. The bank manager led me to a small, sterile room and placed the metal box on the table between us. With trembling hands, I inserted the key and turned it. The lid opened with a soft click. Inside, there was no money. No explanation, just a single sleek USB drive. I rushed back home, my mind racing with 1,000 terrifying scenarios. I plugged the drive into my computer. A single folder appeared on the screen. It was named "I'm sorry." Inside, I found 2 files, a PDF document and a video file. I clicked the video first. Mark's face filled my screen. He was sitting in a chair I didn't recognize against a plain white wall. He looked directly into the camera, his expression a mix of sadness and something else, resignation. "Elena," he began, and his voice was the same, but the tone was all wrong. It was distant. "If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And everything you're about to discover is true. First, you need to know that my name isn't Mark. It's David. David Ryson." The air left my lungs. I felt like I'd been punched. Everything I told you about my life, my family, it was a lie. A constructed identity. I was hired, Elena, hired to find promising tech startups, to get inside and to acquire the intellectual property by any means necessary. I stared at the screen, my mind refusing to process the words. Hired, acquire. You and Bloom were my biggest assignment. You were so talented, so driven. Falling in love with you, that wasn't part of the plan. That was real, but it doesn't change what I have to do. He looked down, a genuine pain flashing across his face. The company I work for, they're launching a new platform today. It's called ThriveTech. It's Bloom, Elena, it's your code, your design, your vision. They've just rebranded it. The $50,000 prize money has been transferred to a secure account. It was the final asset to acquire. He looked back up, his eyes glistening. "I'm so sorry. You deserve none of this. You're the most brilliant person I've ever met. Don't let this break you. Please." The video ended. The screen went black. I sat there, frozen. The world had just fallen out from under me. The betrayal was so complete, So monstrous, it felt like a physical force crushing my chest. I couldn't breathe. I opened the PDF file. It was a press release. ThriveTech launches revolutionary platform for small businesses. The founder and CEO was listed as David Ryson, and there was his picture. My mark, smiling confidently in a sharp, expensive suit I had never seen before. He looked like a stranger. He was a stranger. I spent the next 3 days in a fog of grief. I didn't eat. I barely slept. I cried until my throat was raw and my eyes were swollen shut. The pain was all-consuming. It was a hollow, aching void where my future used to be. He hadn't just stolen my startup. He had stolen my trust, my love, my belief in people. On the fourth morning, I woke up to the sound of rain against my window. I felt empty, scraped clean. I dragged myself to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. A pale, haunted-looking woman stared back at me. Her eyes were dead. And in that moment, something in me shifted. A spark ignited in the darkness. It wasn't hope. It was anger. A pure, clean, burning rage. He thought he could take everything from me and I would just disappear. He thought I would break. He was wrong. I picked up my phone. My hand was steady for the first time in days. I called Sarah, my best friend from college who had been our first unofficial advisor. "Sarah," I said, my voice raspy but clear, "he's gone and he took everything." I told her the whole sordid story. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, her voice, fierce and loyal, "I'm on my way. We're going to fix this." She arrived an hour later with coffee and a determined look in her eyes. Next, I called Leo, the brilliant, quiet engineer who had believed in Bloom enough to join us straight out of Stanford. He listened, and I heard the quiet fury in his silence. "I'm in," he said simply. "He doesn't get to win." We gathered in my living room, the same room where Bloom had been born. We had nothing. No code, no money, no office. But we had something David Ryson and his faceless company can never replicate. We had heart. We had the truth. And we had each other. The road back was long and brutally difficult. There were days the mountain seemed too high to climb. Days when the fear and the doubt threatened to swallow me whole. But every time I wanted to quit, I would remember the look on his face in that video. The pity, and I would keep going. We rebuilt Bloom from the ground up. But this time, it was different. It was stronger. It was ours. We coded with a fury born of betrayal. We designed with a clarity born of pain. We weren't just building a business. We were building a monument to resilience. 6 months later, we launched Bloom again. This time, I wrote the story. The real story. I published it on our blog, laying bare the entire truth. The love, the betrayal, the theft, the fight back. I didn't know if anyone would care, but they did. The story went viral. It was picked up by tech blogs, then by major news outlets. People connected with it. They weren't just supporting a product, they were supporting a person. They were choosing a side in a story of good versus evil. Small business owners, the very people we built Bloom for, became our army. They championed us. They shared our story. They signed up in droves. Meanwhile, ThriveTech began to flounder. David's platform was a hollow shell. It had the code, but it had no soul. It had no story, it had no heart. Customers could feel the difference. 1 year to the day after he vanished, ThriveTech officially shut down. The news was a quiet, unceremonious blip in the tech world. That night, I got an email. The sender's address was unfamiliar, but the name made my blood run cold. David Ryson. The subject line was, "I need to see you." My first instinct was to delete it, to let the past stay dead. But something stopped me. A need for finality, a need to look the ghost in the eye. I agreed to meet him at the same coffee shop where we had first met. I arrived first, my hands wrapped tightly around a cup of tea I had no intention of drinking. He walked in 5 minutes late. He looked older. The confidence is gone, replaced by a weary tension. He sat down across from me. "Elena," he said, his voice quiet, "thank you for coming." "David?" I replied, the name feeling foreign and sharp on my tongue. He flinched. "I'm sorry," he said. Those two words hung in the air between us. He told me everything then, the full, ugly truth. He was a con man, hired by a ruthless venture capital firm that specialized in aggressive acquisitions. He had done this before, but on a smaller scale. I was his masterpiece. He had fallen in love with me, he claimed. It had made him sloppy. It had made him leave the USB drive, a guilty conscience manifesting as a clue. He had been fired from the firm after ThriveTech failed. He had lost everything. I listened to it all in silence. I felt no anger anymore, no hate, just a distant, profound pity. When he finished, he looked at me, expecting something, yelling, crying, forgiveness. I gave him none of those things. I looked at the man who had tried to destroy me, and I felt nothing but my own strength. "Thank you," I said, my voice calm and steady. He looked confused, startled. "Thank you," I repeated, "for showing me exactly how strong I can be." I stood up, leaving my full cup of tea on the table. I walked out of the coffee shop and into the sunlight. I didn't look back. Bloom is thriving now. We've helped tens of thousands of small businesses find their footing. But the success I'm most proud of is the woman I became in the process. I learned that sometimes the worst betrayals carve out the most space for the best things to grow. So if you're listening to this and you're in the middle of your own collapse, remember this. Your story isn't over. This is just the part where you get to decide who you are. This is the chapter where you wake up. Subscribe to this channel for more stories of waking up and fighting back. Because every story deserves to be heard, and your comeback might be the inspiration someone else desperately needs. In our next video, I'll share the 3 simple choices that saved me when I was ready to give up. Until then, remember this, your pain has a purpose. Your story has power. Thank you for listening.